It may look like the crypto market is already exploding, but wait until I show you what I have up here next. If this indicator does play out, then you will truly see an altcoin explosion within the crypto markets. And without further ado, let's get straight into the show. I want to start off with a bit of the fundamental side of things because there are important economic data events that are coming out tomorrow. We are starting off with the GDP, PCE, wholesale inventories, initial jobless claims, durable goods orders, and new home sales. All of that data always helps the Fed with their next decision. And we know that's the big day that's coming up on the 1st of February, which is Wednesday next week. So here are all the relevant dates. If you do want to screenshot that, feel free to mark it off on your Forex calendar because it is going to be an interesting week leading into next week. The question is, do we continue to rally into those upside targets leading into next week in the same way that we have most of the FOMC meetings, or do we start to pull back first and then rip through with a positive result? And that result is priced in now with a 99.7% probability that the Fed is only going to raise the interest rates by 25 basis points. That is absolutely massive. And you're only sitting with 0.3% of the people that think that it will be at a 50 basis point rate hike. So if it were to come in anything above 25, that will be absolutely catastrophic for the markets. And if it comes in on par, I would imagine the market will just continue to rally. So what needs to happen in order for these levels to get hit? Well, I think everything comes down to the stock market over here. And if you have a look at the bottom, we do have the RSI. And I just wanted to show you a couple of very interesting things that have taken place over here. So I have matched up the vertical lines in line with when the RSI trend broke. So as you can see on the bottom there, you break the trend. That is when the S&P 500 was making at least a local bottom and getting ready to bounce into the next zone. Then have a look. Of course, we set in the low over here, but the next one is when the RSI broke through its trend line. That happened over there. And now we're currently coming into a new RSI trend line break, or at least the opportunity for that break. But as you can see, the difference is instead of the lows being set far away from where the diagonal resistance line is, so look at the distance apart, instead now price is pushing directly into that zone over there, and the RSI has a chance to break, which means if it does, there might be enough momentum to really push this up and to start to set in a new range and break that long-term one-year downtrend that the S&P 500 has seen. But we don't want to count our chickens before they hatch. It's definitely a game of patience, and that is a superpower in trading. A game of patience. Remain patient before you take action, at least on the high time frame structure where with your investment portfolio. A short-term trading portfolio, though, of course, we're playing all the moves along the way. I do have a potential trade setup for you as well at the end of this show today. I'm going to show you that. So do keep an eye on this. This is something that I'm watching very, very keenly, and it all lines up with the VIX and the DXY. VIX continues to squeeze down into these lower levels. And you can see if you compare to the previous times, look at the timing wise. Over here, when we set the top, that happened in December, or let's call it November, for the S&P 500 as well as crypto. Look at how much time the VIX spent over there. Then have a look at April, not as long. Then you have a look over here at August. So you can see we are 100% in line from a time perspective with the amount of time that we spent in August as well as in April. Of course, in January, December, January 2021, going into 2022, we spent about twice as much time with the VIX contracted at those levels. And this is why I say it is really just a game of patience. And here you can see the result. So as mentioned, with the time spent down there, that led to the major breakdown. Then we spent quite a bit of time again in March, April, and then August. And that's what set in those ultimate tops over there. So yes, we've been down here for quite a while, and it might sound like a stuck and broken record when I say that. Just wait for the expansion of the VIX before you make any major decisions. That also lines up again, of course, with the DXY, and we're getting closer and closer with each passing day to tagging that liquidity line. Now, areas of interest, which I want to give you ahead of time, if the DXY does bounce off of this level, I would recommend marking off on your chart 103.5, and then the next level up from that is 104.67. those are going to be the upside targets. Again, not calling for the dollar to go into a major bull run. It does look like a long-term top at least has been set in, which happened back in September. And what you're essentially going to be looking for is when this spike does happen into these zones, that is hopefully where you'll find your entries into the risk on assets if the market is truly starting to shift. So keep a close eye on that. If that level does get lost, then you need to mark off on your chart 97.7. If that happens, if the DXY does start to lose this level, breaks below, and you can see it's holding that area or flipping it from support into a resistance, then you can expect the DXY is probably going to come all the way down to grab the liquidity, which came all the way back from March, and that's at 97.7. At that point, Bitcoin does probably rally into the 30Ks without any pullbacks or breaks. I don't think that's going to happen yet. I do have upside targets in the region of the 30Ks, which I've given to you guys before, but I don't think that happens yet. I think that you need to exercise a bit of patience. Bitcoin right now is right at a very pivotal point. The spike up that we had now might be a local top, and I'm going to show you why on the lower time frames in just a moment. What that means is we get new information. It just means you can take your fib level from the bottom to the top, and then you get an accurate 0.382 retracement zone, which is where you would expect a bounce to occur, and that's coming in at 20,630. That is the level. It does line up as well with the so the yellow is the 12 exponential moving average, and then the pink one is the 24 exponential moving average, which you have a solid area of confluence for potential to buy the dip. Also in other indicators over here, if you look at the 12-hour chart, you do have bearish divergence using the RSI that is building up on Bitcoin at the moment. This can be invalidated again if the stock market breaks through with its RSI. Chances are that risk on assets, of which crypto is one, will also break through its RSI levels over here, this trend line, and then it will probably invalidate. But for the time being, there is bearish divergence, which means that pretty much that may be the new local top. Other levels that I wanted to outline, put on your Super Guppy indicator on the daily. It's just type in CM Super Guppy, put it on a daily chart. Use this to help you to find areas to gain an entry when there is a major pullback. I have also added on the 200-day moving average. So on a daily chart, for both bull and bear cycles, that's an absolutely critical level. Pretty much anything that has price action above this zone is going to be bullish. Anytime that it loses that, so that is really your last line in the sand over there. Currently, that 200-day moving average is at 19,500. I'll definitely be placing my bids before that level. I'm getting onto the low time frames in a few moments time. I'll give you those levels, but anything that happens below that, I'll probably cut all positions. Even if it starts to wick below that level, I'll probably close out my positions and just wait for a proper reclaim, because that would look like a terrible bull trap. I don't think that's going to happen, by the way. Okay, total 3 still failing to break through this trend line over here. So we're still dealing with resistance. Not much has changed over here, but the one positive sign is if you do treat this as a range, and you can see the way that the wicks have interacted with the bottom of that range over there. We recaptured it, and now you have a wick directly into that zone. So it's showing that it is trying to start to flip this area into a potential support, but it's too soon to tell. I think that you do need to wait ultimately to break that trend line, at least to have a momentum shift above this before you start to get too aggressive on the alts. Not to say that I'm not playing the altcoin market, because I am. Right over here, I outlined in the daily candle newsletter, as well as in the Discord community, an opportunity to go long on Rune. It had a great just risk to reward perspective over here. It was a very good trade. I was also watching, in case this area didn't work out, I would probably stop out very quickly, and then I would retake the trade just for the sake of interest. Then I'd be looking for something like this with my stops, there you go, below, and still targeting back to the top. So I'll shave off a little bit on this position, because I am long at the moment. I've taken a long on this. I'll shave off a little bit in case Bitcoin does start to come down. If it all fails and everything starts to break down over here, again, I'll be looking to re-enter in this one and still targeting for higher prices as a swing trade opportunity. So there you go. That's a trade that I took on ByBit. I will continue to leave that trade open, but I'll just raise my stop loss so that if it does turn south, of course, I'll be okay. Okay, the levels to watch over here. Really, I think this is your risk line. If you are holding longs from much lower, then kind of use this as your proxy risk line at 22,324. I think that prices most likely do come down to those levels, and hopefully they don't break. I think there could be a sweep of that level. I'm going to show you on the hourly chart why. I made a tweet this morning, which I'll explain as well for those of you who have been atting me in the tweet comments over there. I'm going to explain the exact thought process, but there's a potential for a sweep just below, recapture, and then you can go long. However, if it is what we call the power of 3, so I said I just woke up and I see a very clear PO3. That stands for power of 3 on Bitcoin. What is the power of 3? Well, you get a bullish and a bearish one. Essentially, it involves a period of consolidation, a period of manipulation, and then a period of expansion. Unfortunately, in this instance, this is a bearish power of 3 that's currently taking place, and you can see it as clear as day. So label it what you will. Let's make this a bit bigger. You can label it what you will, but essentially what you have over here is you have your consolidation. Then you have your manipulation, which is also labeled as a swing failure pattern. So you can see liquidity grab, swing failure pattern, whatever it is that you want to call it. And then usually that leads into the expansive phase, which is your next move that goes all the way down. This is kind of what I'm watching. I'm saying at the very, very least, I'm saying that we're probably going to sweep back down to 22,282. And depending on if you're long or short, it could be the best or the worst case scenario. I think for most people, they sideline. So it's probably your best case scenario is you're looking for the expansive phase to send price back down into 21,000 to 21,500. And that is, in my opinion, where you need to start to look to get long. If you start to lose below those levels and hold underneath that zone, of course, then the picture starts to change very quickly and prices may go a lot lower. So this is what I'm watching on the low time frames, which I'm expecting to play out over the course of the next maybe 2 to 3 days, a return back to the range low. Then I think a lot of stops are at risk over here because this was a very easy trade to take. I'm sure you can all agree. If you do take a look at this, okay, most people probably didn't buy over here because that happened very, very quickly. Maybe they got scared. Then how many people bought over here? I think a lot of people bought here. How many people bought over here yesterday? I think a lot of people bought over here. That means, again, that's free liquidity. It creates a liquidity cascade. And then you're coming down to the next major level, which we want to have tested as support. And that's where I'll be looking to build a long position. So if you do look as well at what's happened with the cumulative volume deltas on spot, it's pretty interesting. Both spot and the stablecoin margin have continue to sell off. So those that are taking leverage have continued to close out their positions, but price has managed to stay completely flat. So it's being held up. I'm not sure exactly where that's being held up from. If this data here, which is aggregated across all of the different exchanges, is showing spot selling, leverage selling, you can see by the open interest, it's also being reset over here. So pretty interesting. I'm just looking at price action. The very, very soonest that I'm willing to add into another long position would be on a sweep of these lows at 22,000, but there's a high probability that you're going to get stopped out. So the way that you want to play it, if you're going to look to enter into this soon, if you don't want to wait for all the way down to 21.5, at least wait for a sweep down and then that reclaim, because the stops are most likely going to get wiped here. So once you see that section happen over there and a reclaim back into that range, that's your opportunity to go long, and then you just set your stop loss below that area that just broke down. And then maybe because there's a lot of FOMO, maybe we don't get the full expansive phase. I don't know. We'll have to take it as it comes, take it bit by bit, and just be patient with the market. But for the time being, that definitely looks to me like at least a top that's going to hold for maybe a couple of, maybe 2 days, 3 days, and then we'll see from there. We'll see if we get the typical Friday manipulation at the stock market close where there's a massive expansive phase to the upside. Backtrack, go look at that. That's something that's happened historically. And then if you look at 𝗬𝗎 over here as well, he says, I'm seeing more signs of increased market sell pressure. So he really goes deep into looking into these cumulative volume deltas, and all of them across all exchanges is basically showing that they're selling off. And he says we've seen persistent rebalance flow around the daily opens. Let's see what happens next. You can see he's highlighted the bottom of those wicks as well as an area that would most likely get compromised. And he says BTC, Binance Spot, poor auction area due to the futures getting squeezed. So Binance Spot, I looked at Binance Spot as well, by the way. Let's quickly switch on to that chart. Again, I continue to see the information being spread on the Binance spot market absolutely pumping whilst everything else is going down. Interestingly, if I put this on a daily chart over here, at least this is according to Coinalyze, this is actually Binance. So I put it in yellow, you know, like their coin. This is Binance. I'm seeing Binance spot go down and the rest of the spot actually go up in comparison to Binance. So I find that very, very strange. And you can even change the time frame. Let's look on an hourly to see if there's any difference over there. Okay, so there you go. Binance still selling off harder. And they're saying that this rally has been led by BUSD. So Binance basically calling it a form of manipulation within the market. But guys, I don't know, show me where you're seeing this data. I'm trying to look at things very objectively. This is, as far as I know, a pretty reputable source using Coinalyze. Show me where you're getting that data. If you're watching the show, send me a DM on Twitter or tag me in your post. But I'd love to see where you guys are pulling the information that's showing that Binance is running the entire market up. Okay, guys, I think that brings us to the end. Longs to shorts on GMX. So the only reason that we use this, for those of you that are wondering, GMX is a decentralized trading exchange, a DEX. Therefore, you can't really manipulate the long to short ratios. It's all on the blockchain, easy for anyone to see. That's why I look at it. The long to short ratio is currently sitting at 1 to 8 over here. So 1 to 8. 8 longs for every 1 short position. Before we end off, let's quickly, firstly, do me a massive favor. It really helps the video get out there. Give this video a like, hit the bell notification, and also subscribe to the channel. And then also remember, we are nearing the end. I think this is almost the final week, and Rand has already started to try and give these Rolexes away. There you go. That's the one. They're the Submariners. You're welcome to look them up. They're worth a lot of money. There's a blue and gold one, which is supposedly more rare. And then we have this one over here. This is my favorite one. This is the black Rolex. Please make sure that you participate in that competition. I had to chip in for these watches out of my own pocket. Cost me a flipping fortune over here. So I would appreciate it if you at least participate in the competition. All you have to do is sign up using the link on ByBit or Bitget below. If you don't have it, you don't need to go and reopen an account. If you already have one, I obviously understand. But if you don't have an account, please make sure to use one of my links. It really helps. And you have nothing to lose. You actually get sign-up bonuses, which is an added benefit for you. Each trade you take, you'll be entered into the Rolex competition. Very short show, quick to the point. I hope that helps. That's it from me, guys. I really appreciate all of you. Have an absolutely stellar day. I'll see you all tomorrow, and cheers for now.